Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KFS pregame show. My name is Andrew Claudio, a.k.a. GMAC, and it's time to preview the Knicks' upcoming matchup on Thursday night against the Portland Trail Blazers, a game that will take place at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. At time of recording, it is 10 p.m. Pacific. I'll let you do the math about what time it is here on the East Coast. And we're going to preview this matchup against the Portland team, who obviously had a pretty big shift in their franchise direction before the season, and we'll see how things are going. They're 18-46 at time of recording, which just means they haven't played against the Atlanta Hawks yet. The Knicks obviously coming off a pretty vibe-altering win over the Philadelphia 76ers with the return of OG Anunoby. And as we begin this West Coast trip of 4 games, joining me to break it all down and preview this matchup, hope we're ready for a slice of meringue pie from Jack Ramsays, Mr. Danny Marang. Danny, how you doing, man? Long time no speak.
I'm doing good, man. I'm sorry. I got stuck at a G League game a little bit later than I wanted to be. And then I live out in the sticks. It's a 30+ mile drive from where I live.
So we got to clarify something, Danny. So KFS listeners know this. I'm awake. Like, I'm usually awake till 3 anyway.
Yeah.
It's like part of my normal routine is up.
We're both vampires. Yes.
Right. So
yes.
What I'm doing now is not instead of sleep. What I'm doing is like instead of put a movie on, instead of put on a show.
Yes.
Like my schedule is basically up till 2 or 3. Sleep till 8 or 9, and then catch a nap if I can someday. Yep. So, you know.
No, that's 100% it. But long story short, I live 30 miles away from where the Trailblazers and their G League affiliate play, which are 2 different buildings, but they're just a few miles apart. So it takes me almost an hour to get home every single night, which is super fun. Like last night when the Trailblazers play the Boston Celtics at a 7:30 tip, and we get done at like 11:30, and then I have an hour drive home, and then I get to go to work on film stuff at like 12:30 at night. So it's like when you ask me, I was like, I can go late, you know, but it's like, how late is late? Because most people are not lunatics like you and I and have normal sleeping hours.
That's the remix, right?
Yeah. The remix is the G League affiliate out here who they came back from like down 22. It was a fun little game. A guy that I think Knicks fans are familiar with, Ibu Baji, was the reason I was out there watching. He was out there. He lit up like four blocks tonight. The man is a shot blocking machine, so he's a fun watch.
Okay, well, any Knicks fans that tuned in for remix talk,
there you go, hot Ibu Baji talk.
We could fill that void. I gotta say, Danny, the tough part about transitioning into Trailblazers talk is
not as much fun.
No disrespect, I'm not sure there is much difference in.
Not as much fun.
So you tell me, how are the vibes in Portland? I do have some preseason questions, and like I haven't talked to you since last summer.
I know.
Like they're 18-46 at time of recording, and like, is this as bad as you thought it would be?
It's about that. Like everybody who hit me up, like, you know, over under 28.5 wins. Under. Like I like Scoot. I think he still projects as a guy who's still going to be a really solid plus point guard. I think like Marcus Smart with the ability to attack the rim, I think is kind of like where he fits, which is a really good player. Or Drew Holiday with rim pressure at the highest end, which again, really good player. But 19-year-old point guards suck. Like, across the board, they suck. Like they're never good. And everybody I try to like, look, I think Scoot's going to be a good player, but it's going to be a couple years. That's the reality of this. And if he's going to run your offense, and Anthony Simons is more of a 1 than a 2, so you're going to have an awkward fit there. You're trying to integrate DeAndre Ayton like a week before the season. You've got some other rookies and Chris Murray and Tumani Kamara that you're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams. It's just like, okay, this is going to be a lot. Crazy stat. The Blazers, quote unquote, top 6, Ant, Shaedon Sharpe, I haven't even mentioned he had, surgery. It's going to made him miss 40 games basically. Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III. I think I said Brogdon. Anyway, to get to your top 6, they're going to play 4 total games together.
Oh, wow.
4. And if you add Robert Williams III to that list, it's a half. The first half of the first game of the season, because Robert Williams III's out for the season. Anthony Simons tore his thumb just before the half against the Clippers opening night. DeAndre Ayton had tendonitis for basically the entire month of December. Jeremy Grant has been in and out. Malcolm Brogdon's been in and out. Shaedon Sharpe had the groin/hip surgery. He's due to come back probably in about 2 weeks. It's been very unfortunate that even though they weren't going to be good, this was supposed to be kind of a data collection season. And they haven't been able to really collect that much data because they have no relationships. Like up until the All-Star break, DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons, I think, had played in total, I want to say it was 12 games together. They almost had almost no time. If you go look at at Cleaning the Glass and look at the Blazers lineups, I actually haven't looked at it lately. Well, look at this live. The lineup that has played the most together. See if we can do this live. It's not going to actually work because why would it? Why would it?
They're very familiar with me pulling up lineups live on Cleaning the Glass.
There you go. Okay,
you're good with the
here. Okay, the number one lineup. Since if you work on Cleaning the Glass regularly, how many possessions, give or take, do you think the number one lineup has together?
Well, so for a team that's ravaged by injuries like the Knicks, there's like 8 lineups that have at least 100 in qualify. So I believe the Knicks, I know your number is going to be low, but I'll say like 500 is usually like a decent number to get a sample
234.
Size. So yeah, you guys have been destroyed by injuries this year.
And it's kind of funny that you said 8. They have 8 total lineups that have at least 100 possessions.
Yeah.
That's how beat up they have all been. And if you look at their number one lineup, it's Brogdon, Sharpe, Kamara, Grant, and Ayton. Brogdon's essentially done for the season, and Sharpe missed 40 games. So and that's their number one lineup.
So two follow-ups to this then, because like how much better do you think this would have been if you had a semblance of health and some continuity?
If you give them like 75% health, which is give or take, on an average NBA season, they probably win 7 more games. Maybe they're threatening the 28.5 wins, but then maybe organizationally there's some strategic resting that takes place.
That never happens. No, what are you talking about? Especially in Portland.
Definitely not.
Never happened before. Yeah.
On that note, but they've just been beat to hell. Scoot had a egregious start to the season. I think it took a massive shot to his confidence. It took him a little while. Then he got hurt. Then it took him a while because the best thing that this is going to sound terrible. The best thing that happened to him was getting hurt. It's the best thing that happened to him because all of the shackles of expectation fell off. And then he went to the bench and the game slowed down for him. And all of a sudden he started
to exhale. Yeah.
Yep. And then all of a sudden he started beating up on bench units. And you're like, yeah, you're good enough to be here, dude. Now he still struggles with like top end starters. And he's still trying to figure out some footwork stuff and pacing, but you're starting to see like the bones of it come together. The awful thing this season is Shaedon Sharpe had to take the reins as a point guard when he's not a distributor. And then he ends up having the surgery. So you have Scoot injuries, Anthony injuries, Shaedon injuries. And Malcolm Brogdon. Your 4 primary initiators and ball handlers have all missed giant chunks of the season. And so that they were already short on playmakers to begin the season. And now everybody else that's following in line is dealing with that, which means DeAndre Ayton, which is why he struggled to get off to any kind of start. And everybody's, Ayton's, he's just cashing checks. Since the All-Star break, or I want to say last 20 games, he's averaging like 21 and 13, shooting 62% from the floor. It's like, yeah, that's what he should have been doing, but he didn't have functional guard play. So long story short, they've been just absolutely ravaged by injuries while also playing a ton of young guys. So are they 18 and 46 that you are, what your record is? Yes. Are they a team where the vibes are bad? Not anymore. I will say when you guys saw them last, when they came through New York, they actually, it was the one game they won on that trip. It was a absolutely vicious trip. They lost by 62.
What do you mean the one?
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. It was the Nets game. Was the next game?
Yeah, the Knicks game kind of ran away with that game.
Yeah, no, that was right. They were in the first half, and then they got their doors blown off the second half. Sorry, they won the Nets game, where Anthony Simons went absolutely nuts. But the Knicks game was actually the post-Knicks game was a kind of a come to Jesus moment. They had a quasi-team meeting where Chauncey Billups really laid out what the expectations were going to be going forward. and what roles were going to be for guys. And it took a couple more games because they got the crap kicked out of them. I mean, they lost by 62 to the Thunder. It was the worst loss in the organization's history. And then they went to Minnesota and got absolutely thumped. But basically ever since that road trip, they've been in or competitive in almost every game. And kind of like the young feisty team where if you come in and you kind of take it too easy, they've got the ability to come out and score with you. But if you take care of business, you can just be like, all right, like Boston did last night. They're like, we're not messing around. We're going to come in here, grab a win, and go. But if you take them too lightly, they will make it a rough night for you. But that was the expectation this year.
So those are the vibes around the team.
Yeah, no, they're actually good now. They're like guys like they got a win the other night against the Raptors. I go in the locker room and guys are all huddled around Jeremy Grant's phone watching the UFC fight, like having fun. Like guys are.
Go ahead. Finish.
No, I said the guys are all just sitting there, watching somebody get Muay Thai kneed in the face, and they're the bond. Like guys aren't running away after games, good, bad, or otherwise. Like the vibes are actually okay because everybody kind of understands the mission right now.
How about the fan base right now?
Give or take.
I know the expectations can be different the year after as well. The year after, you trade Dame.
Yeah, no, the biggest issue, I don't even think is really the basketball, because I spent the entire summer telling people, like, no matter where Dame gets traded, they're not going to be good. That's the whole point, is they're resetting the franchise. So most of the people that I interacted with understood that. General fan base is kind of like, but no Dame. And it's like, yeah, no, that sucks. It does. But the bigger issue hasn't been the basketball. It's been a TV deal. Their TV provider locally, Root, is on Comcast, Comcast Sports or Xfinity. The day before the season, Xfinity did a rate hike. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
It was bad. The Blazers are tied in that deal for one more year. And ever since Paul Allen passed, Jody Allen is the executor of the state. She's been kind of propped up to be kind of the boogeyman. She's everything that's wrong with the organization. She forced Dame out, and you know how those things work. You're very familiar with the owner is everything wrong with an organization. Which
I've been there. Right now, my owner is the overseer of two very successful sports franchises.
See,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But bit of a boogeyman when it comes to stuff. Perfect, no. Is she the worst owner in sports? No. But you take a look at kind of where those things are, and the ratings on the franchise fell almost 50%. But a big portion of that was due to not like paying to watch anymore because of the rate hike.
So let me jump in. So I had all these like questions prepared about like
go on.
How do you feel about Jaime Jaquez and what he's looked like this year? And like, how's the fan base comparing to what the return was? And this revelation, you're basically telling me that the vibes amongst the fan base it's like, we couldn't even watch the team this year. Like, and it's one of the worst teams. It's like the year to skip a season if you're going to. Am I?
Oh yeah, no, right? Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, no, like, and the big part of this, I think, has to do with the expectations that were placed on Scoot, because number one, he's the number 3 overall pick. Number 2, he's following a legend, maybe the best player in this organization's history. And you had a trade saga that went on for 90 days. So when he comes out and he's just not good, it soured a lot of people real quick. Like, oh, this guy's trash. He's not Damian Lillard. It's like, yeah, no, the 19-year-old's not Damian Lillard. Turns out. Who knew? But it has been, I joked going into the season, you were not built for this, to Portland fans. And some people are like, oh, what do you mean? They got mad at me. And I went with, you're not built for this. You've had one of the most successfully run sports franchises in North American sports history. Those that aren't aware, they had 27 straight years in the playoffs before Dame. Before the Jailblazers. So if you're like me and you're 40 years old, you haven't really, outside of the Jailblazer years, you've known a team that has been to like 2 different eras of the finals in the early 90s and the late 90s, early 2000s. And then you're like, your college years were like, early 2000s, a little rough. But then you had the hope of Brandon Roy, the hope of LaMarcus Aldridge, the hope of Greg Oden. It was stolen from you, but you had it. And then you had Damian Lillard. So there was no like long period of suck. They've only missed the playoffs 3 straight years, twice before this year, in 53 years. It's like, and one of those was in the first 6 years of their existence. Then it was the Jailblazer years, and now it's this year, this group of seasons. So they've never been bad for any real period of time. So now that they really suck this year, this fan base doesn't really know how to handle itself because the team has always been good. And so there's been this weird kind of pushback, but every time, like speaking of Dame comes into town in Milwaukee, this place, the Moda Center was filled to the gills and it was a playoff atmosphere. So they still care. Just they're very careful with how much and how often they care now.
Yeah, it's a weird thing of like it's not apathy. Like no. they haven't checked out on the team. It's literally just like we're gonna take a year off. And
no, it's really
it's like a red shirt
gap year.
Even
it's a gap year. Yeah.
Then this is the weirdest relationship to a team I've ever seen with a fan base, Danny.
Well, the thing is, like, I have always been. This is something that I've always lamented because I'm not from Portland. I'm from LA. Mm-hmm. And this is as a Knicks fan and a New York sports fan. LA fans, Boston fans, New York fans, when our sports teams suck, oh boy, do we let them know.
Mm-hmm.
It's relentless. It's fervorous.
Ratings go up. Yeah. On our
exactly. Yeah. Because it's like it's a collective hatred that bonds. And it's railing on players, it's railing on coaches, it's railing on ownership, it's railing on general managers, all of it. Here, that's never really been the case across any sports. It's been very much, it's like you look at the early 90s teams. Yeah, Clyde Drexler's an all-timer, dream teamer. He's probably thought of differently if Michael Jordan doesn't exist. But as much as everybody loved Drexler, it's not Drexler that everybody still talks about. It's Duck, Buck, Jerome, Terry. It's all of the hard hat, lunch pail. Portland's not like a Pittsburgh type city, but if you show up and you work hard, you play hard, you try hard, you're a good guy in the community, you can leave this team and open up a car dealership and be set for life. Set for life because of what you did. They care more about that stuff than a lot of on-court successes, as long as a certain threshold is met. The threshold is not being met right now. And I think organizationally, they know that. And I would expect them this summer not to like push all in by any means, but I think you're going to see some pretty aggressive moves from them this summer to try to like, all right, let's push this thing forward a little bit. Let's make this thing make a little bit more sense. Because right now, like they think, okay, we're still very invested in Scoot. We're still very invested in Shaden, very invested in Anthony. And I think you can say the same thing about DeAndre Ayton. I think they like what Ayton does. Big man, roll, finish, rebound, get out of the way. Like stylistically, they want to be athletic and that's how they want to play. So you squint and you're like, okay, the problem is, as of right now, there is no cornerstone. As good as Scoot is, how many 6'2" guards are the cornerstones of franchise right now? As much as I love Anthony Simons, who could absolutely cook with just anybody in the league, he's been inconsistent this year. Shaden Sharp was supposed to take a step forward. He has surgery. Jeremy Grant, really good complementary player. DeAndre Ayton, he's shown he can anchor a defense in the finals. Malcolm Brogdon, nice player. Time Lord, can't stay healthy. So you just go down the list and you're like, okay, all this stuff makes sense, but where's the thing? And that's what this team is either hasn't found yet and pulled it out of Shaden Sharp or needs to continue searching for.
Interesting. So, I mean, first of all, to talk about teams that have their cornerstones be 6'2" or shorter, you're about to play back-to-back teams that have point guards that are.
But that's my point. It's like
but those are special. Like those are the guys that are gifted offensively. Yeah, it's not super common. The aggressiveness in the offseason is a fascinating wrinkle. I know they're going to have a top 5, top 6, whatever pick this upcoming
They're 5th
year.
right now.
They're 5th right now. We'll see what happens with the lottery.
Please move up for love of God. Just make my life easier.
The funny thing is like they moved up to get Scoot.
Yeah.
And then like this year, I've not met a person yet that covers the draft and the people I talk to, and I'm sure you've heard it too, that this draft just stinks. The Knicks ran into this thing with their 2 trades that they made where nobody wanted their pick. They have their own pick and they have the Dallas pick, and it was like here, and like they went back to Toronto trying to get Bruce Brown, and we're like, here, you want to take our first? And like, we just made this trade with Indiana. We're good on first.
The Blazers have the Warriors first. From the
I think it was the calculation. Maybe you could speak to this. Were you surprised Malcolm Brogdon didn't get moved? And was it because so is it because they weren't looking for a pick back, or just they want to keep him around for like having an adult in the room, you know? Okay.
So if they would have been their doors blown off with an offer, they would have moved Malcolm Brogdon.
What's a door blown off offer?
A viable young player.
Which you're not getting from Malcolm Brogdon, probably.
Or a draft pick, a first-round draft pick, not in 2024.
Right.
And not a pretend first. Like, like a 18 to 24 draft pick in not 2024. Mm-hmm. And I think the Blazers are looking at it right now and going, well, we didn't get what we wanted. So we're going to go to this summer and we're going to have this guy who probably 15 teams want, who is still easily a 6 man of the year capable guard who can shoot the living hell out of the ball, gives you a level of competency that you really can't find on the market as a backup guard. There's just not too many of those guys out there. Like Jalen Suggs is nice. Jalen Suggs can't shoot. Cole Anthony is nice, but it's like, well, Cole Anthony's not going to run your offense. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just
picking on Orlando. I see.
Listen, I'm just saying in general, like because they were a team that was like, hey, we like Malcolm Brogdon. It's like, yeah, I bet you do, because you don't have that. I mean, the Knicks were a team that were kicking around Malcolm Brogdon. Like, hey, we like that. It's like, I bet you do. Like having that competency is something that a lot of teams want. But in the summertime and with this draft and how things shake out, the Blazers now have $22 million expiring contract, and it's also on a good player. It's not Evan Fournier. It's actually a good player.
Yeah. It's not just matching salary. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, and with the way the CBA is shaping out, they looked at it and went, I think, he'll be not significantly, he'll be more valuable this summer. And so they said, all right, we'll revisit the summer. But when it comes to like Jeremy Grant, I have no reason to believe they're in any hurry to move him. They like him. Jeremy likes it here. Jeremy just had a baby. He's happy. Like
would they, even with the door blown off offer?
Somebody make an offer, they do it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think they're in any hurry to move him. They're
not shopping him. Okay.
But again, a lot of that has to do with, I think if you made the right offer, they would listen. I think that's really the case for anyone on the roster. I don't think
even Simons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is untouchable, but obviously the offer gets that it gets a lot tighter to thread.
Henderson needs to be untouchable. I'm sorry. So if the right offer, they trade Scoot.
I don't think in any way, shape, matter, or form. I think when you talk about untouchables, I think you're talking about the top 10 players in the NBA. That's the way I operate. I think organizationally, if you put a gun to their head, they'd say the same thing. But if you're asking like untouchable, no. But if you're like, okay, and I'm not even saying like Wemby, like if you said, I don't know, Halliburton. Yeah. I think they'd say yes for very obvious reasons.
Right.
It's just, it's just the nature of the beast.
That's a guard that you can,
like, that's a dude. You can see yourself like, okay, yeah. No, the guy's, pre-hamstring was an absolute monster. So yeah, I think you could talk yourself into that. But
what did you make of the draft night stuff with Zion? Was that, I know obviously Dame was still on the team, so that was different world, but like, see, the tough part about asking this question is like Portland's in a rebuild. So if the Zion offer's there and it's there on draft night and Dame's still there, the question becomes, okay, you give up 3 and whatever salary you need for Zion, and
if you think that offers there, not only are you giving up a prized asset in number 3, you're also having to give up the necessary salary. So, okay, you got to find $25 million, roughly. I guess with the draft pick, it's like 10. So you got to find like 16, 17 million. I think Zion's like 27 because he's on the fund max, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to give up something else. Is New Orleans going to give up something else on top of that? Okay. Are they going to give up Trey? Probably not. So Zion and Herb is like, and you're giving up something too. So you're like, I don't know about this. Then you make that deal. Okay. Now you've got, at this point in time, Dame, let's say it's Herb. You got Dame, Herb, Zion, and Nurk. Does that make any sense? No. So now you've got to make more moves and you don't have a ton of capital left. And so you just kind of like, and I'm a guy full, all the cards on the table. Dame's more than a guy that I covered. Dame's a friend. Mm-hmm. Like that's a guy I've covered for a decade. I've got a hell of a relationship with the guy. I wanted him. I was thrilled when he ended up in Milwaukee because Giannis is a guy he's always wanted to play with. Like those guys have talked back and forth for years about playing together.
How much did he? I mean, speaking as his friend, then you don't have to disclose personal stuff, but like, how much is it to like he wanted Milwaukee versus Miami? Like, I really wanted Miami and settled for Milwaukee.
I think in his head he wanted Miami, but talking to him after the trade, he was ultimately happy with Milwaukee. He knew basketball wise, he was in a very, very, very good position.
But lifestyle wise, he was going to live in Wisconsin.
It's different
for a winter sport. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and if you want to just put like all the cards on the table, like Miami's tax free.
Like, I know.
Like 20 million.
I know.
Yeah. You're talking about $20 million basically over the course of his deal that, that's in your pocket. Now, the government always finds a way, but those things matter too. But like, if you put a gun to his head and be like, you do not want to play in Milwaukee? No. Giannis is a guy. Giannis isn't a guy. He is the guy that he has wanted to play with. That is the guy that he has told me for years. The one guy he absolutely unequivocally would and would wanted to play with was Giannis.
Yeah, the pick and roll is pretty in as advertised and as deadly.
It turns out when you spam it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and their lineup data, their first 4, it keeps being brought up to me when I doubt Milwaukee, is that their 4 most used lineups are like plus 10 across the board, and I'm just like, counterpoint, Doc Rivers is their coach, Knicks in 5, whatever, and I have to acknowledge how good they are. I know they got their doors blown off tonight against Sacramento.
Yeah, that'll be a weird night.
What is it going to be like watching Dame in the playoffs this year?
Unabashedly will root for him.
Okay, that's his friend. How will Portland fans watch the playoffs?
They will 100%.
Okay, so they're 100%. Behind him.
He has like 98% approval rating. I'm not kidding. Like,
will it be sweeter if they're if it's a 2-7 and they knock out Miami? Because I know that got heated during the summer.
Yes, it will.
Okay,
100%.
Okay, what's your most
Portland fans? I personally will be like,
okay.
Mwah!
How
if you followed my Twitter feed this summer, it was a shit show.
Yeah. Do you still have like?
They still pop in my mentions.
So, what was the worst moment of the summer with any intercourse with?
It was always
interaction with Miami.
I mean, one guy doxed me. I had one guy that it told me to kill myself in a very vulgar manners.
That was fun.
Those are super fun. I also am very petty and have a history in military intelligence. I may or may not have found out where he lived, where he worked, and where he went to school, and sent a screenshot of all 3 to his boss, the lead counselor, and had some fun with that.
Okay. That's one way to handle interactions on social media.
Just wanted to say, this guy's working for you. This guy goes to your school. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Okay, bye.
Got it. Okay.
So, but other than that, it was just a lot of trash talk. What was really funny is throughout the entire process, everybody thought oh, you're carrying Joe Cronin's water. You're carrying Joe's water. I talked to the Blazers maybe 3 times during the summer. It wasn't Joe I was talking to. So, but whether you read the Woj article or you read the Chris Haynes article, everything I said all summer long was right down the middle of both.
Yeah.
They weren't. Yeah. They genuinely were not interested in what Miami had to offer. Miami was not that interested in giving up that much.
So, what was the final offers on both sides? Like, or the last reported one.
The last reported one was Jovic. No Jaquez. No
Jaquez. Okay.
No. Harrow. 2 firsts, and then somehow like swaps. And then
was there ever an offer that was so Duncan's for the salary? Was there ever?
There was never one that had both Jovic and Jaquez, as far as I know.
But there was one that had Jaquez instead of Jovic, right?
Never an actual offer that I know of.
Okay.
Jaquez was always.
Would you have done that over what you got from Milwaukee?
No, I think what they got was better. I like Jaquez. I think he's a really good player, but I also think that he's a floor raiser, not a ceiling raiser.
Okay. Wouldn't you want like a young floor raiser on your team?
Not.
Although with his position, you got Jeremy Grant. So.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, and you can put him at 3. And again, this is not like to slight Jaquez. I think he's a good player, and you could go back to the stuff that I said all summer. I think Jaquez is a good player.
We hate him over here in New York, unfortunately.
No, trust me, I get it. I have nothing against the Heat team. Like, I know Knicks fans are going to hate me saying I like that team. I've always liked that team. I know. Boo! I know.
They not only did they eliminate us, but like there's a long history. And
I know. Guys,
dirty Heat culture.
I know
that Julius Randle's been injured twice in the last calendar year by Miami players. By the way,
I don't disagree,
mm-hmm.
but they have been successful through so many eras, and I have
now you got to respect it.
And that's the thing is like, and people are like, oh, you just hate the Heat. I'm like, no, I just hate you, the person. Like, I don't care about like the Heat. There's a team like what they've done. Pat Riley's insane, but like he's basketball like Jesus. I mean, come on, like or he sold his soul. Like either way, whatever side this you
basketball
fall on.
Satan was
basketball Satan's fine too.
That. Yeah.
Fallen angel. They started in heaven.
Amen. Look at
see, look at that.
You had full Bible on that one. New King James version over here.
There you go.
I didn't know if so. That's the Miami Portland of it all. Like, has the fan base based off of maybe the misreporting of what happened? Have they see again? That's the tough part about asking this is you're telling me they haven't been able to watch this year.
Yeah, no. So much of the reporting was propaganda. And it was. It's so funny. Miami media will be like, the Heat don't leak. And I'm like, the Heat are the Titanic. They leak endlessly. And endlessly. I'm sitting here like, I've got firsthand sourcing, guys. I know what's actually going on and what offers were made. Like, I was at Summer League, and I've got Heat media members telling me the deal's done. They're just waiting for them to formalize it. And I'm like, they haven't even talked yet. What are you talking about? It was just like, I'm sitting here just like, what's funny is, shout out the OG David Aldridge. We were talking at Summer League, and he's like, what do you think gets this done? And I go, in the end, Miami probably finds a way to get this done because that's how star trades go. But I go, here's the thing that's going to happen. Somebody somewhere is going to find a 25-year-old center, and that's going to change the entire deal. DeAndre Ayton ended up being that guy. I think Jared Allen was a guy that was originally discussed because he was partially available at that point in time. And I knew the Blazers were like, as much as they liked Nurk, they wanted to get more athletic. And that was the kind of the thing that ended up being something that the deal was built around. But that wasn't until much later in the process. I want to say that happened probably about 3 weeks before the Bucks were brought in. Like the Suns were trying to move DA. So that I think can end up being kind of the impetus for like a lot of deal frameworks that were being put together. But it was funny just having that conversation with David was like, yeah, it'll probably get there. And when I said something about the big man, he was like, oh, that's interesting. And he's like, is that something that they're going to end up going down? I was like, I just think I have a feeling. And again, this wasn't sourced at this point in time. I was just like, that's a way I think that ends up getting this deal done. He's like, that's an interesting path. He's like, I'll have to file that one away for later. 90 days of hell later. I was like, hell. Who knew that was the way they ended up going?
And a lot coming from Dame's agent too, right? From what we could tell, because he wanted Miami.
No, he did. And they tried to rattle the same. Look, Aaron Goodwin did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Right.
Make as much noise, make it about the Blazers failing Dame and making it as toxic as humanly possible. That's like,
hey, look,
that's the way this stuff goes.
Yeah.
Like
James Harden's in LA, like it works,
There's a playbook. I wrote about this. I was critical of Aaron Goodwin, not in what he did, but how he did it and the timeline. I thought he escalated stuff too fast. Because I thought Joe Cronin, when he held a press conference in Las Vegas, I thought he wrestled back the narrative because the Dame's camp went too nuclear too fast. But I mean, again, we're nitpicking. Again, Damian Lillard ended up as a Milwaukee Buck and has like a legitimate chance at a title. Yeah. So he got what he wanted.
I would have thought that Miami team would have had a shot too, but I think look, he's with Giannis. Like he landed in a place either way. I think that he is going to be a contender this year. And, it's good to hear that the Blazers fans, the ones that will be able to watch this playoffs, will have good vibes towards.
Oh no, they 100% are. It's funny. I get texts or tweets or DMs all the time of, I hate the Blazers are playing at this time because they're playing at the exact same time as the Bucks. I mean, I bet you if you look at the Bucks league pass data, I would bet you that their largest influx of out of market fans are Portland.
It's Portland, yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Sounds right. So, speaking of teams that made a trade, the Knicks made two this season.
You did, and you made two fantastic trades.
Yes.
You got rid of RJ Barrett and you got OG Anunoby.
So we'll talk about the Anunoby trade, which I'm glad you're going to catch me on the other side of an Anunoby game because they're 13-2 when he plays for the Knicks. And there was 18 games between win number 12 and number 13 that we had to really trudge through. And
you guys beat up.
So what's funny? Randall went down. It was a Saturday, the last Saturday in January, and they were up by like 18 late. I can't even blame Tibbs because like Spo had all his starters into, and like with the NBA, like you never know. So.
And it's the Heat, so
it's the Heat. So like the last thing I need is for like
dead may never die kind of
two Duncan Robinson threes, and suddenly it's an 11-point game, and it's like I just pulled my starters. Yeah. So like Randall goes up for a layup. Jaime Jaquez with the. I mean, if I'm being objective, he probably just took a charge. I thought he.
In real time, he assaulted Julius Randle.
I thought maybe he had a knife, and people didn't see it because it's the Heat. Randall dislocates his shoulder and has been out since. And then it was like, all right, well, there'll be some time to collect some data on what the Knicks can do how they look without Julius Randle.
Sure.
OG Anunoby then suddenly is questionable for the next game after some pregame warm-ups.
Weirdest injury ever.
Bro, it was a week and we were just like, he's still questionable with a sore elbow. Okay. And then during the trade deadline week, we're starting to hear, this might be, you might want to buckle up for how long he's going to be out. And the day of the trade deadline, they waited until after the deadline to announce that he had surgery on the elbow.
Drew me go and drop this nugget now. Bop. Yeah.
Right. Now that our negotiations are done and people aren't able to hold the
leverage that against us. Yes.
Exactly. But like the ceiling and the altitude that the vibes and the optimism that the team had on the other side, right? Man, they looked unbeatable. Like their two losses were this weird game against Dallas in Dallas,
and the Luka thing's always there.
Well, so Luka didn't even play.
That's right. It was that when he was out.
They played shit for 3 quarters.
That's right.
And then made this run in the fourth quarter, and they're a rebound away, but they didn't get it from time. Which is
you get. Every team gets one of those every year where star players are out, and you get the best effort imaginable from the others, and you're going.
Tim Hardaway Jr. hit eight threes that night. Like it was one of those weird nights. Kyrie went off, and it was like the Mavs just didn't miss from 3.
Yeah.
The other loss, they lost on MLK Day. Brunson didn't play, so like. Those are the two Anunoby losses.
You can file those away easy.
So this stretch that they had, these 18 games, they went 8-10, and it felt like 0-18 at certain points. But it's why the loss on Sunday is probably it was honestly the only real annoying loss. Like every single loss we had, it's like, you know what? We're playing shorthanded. Oh, well. Then they score 73 points, and if you get that win, it's 9-9 without Anunoby, and it's like,
and you're like,
respectable
totally
9-9. We'll take it. I'm watching with the Sixers what happened to them without Embiid, and they're just dismantled. And it's
cratering.
But 79 points is good enough to beat the Knicks, apparently. So I say all of that to say you're catching the Knicks now. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Town.
We were making fun of Joe Mazzulla about it earlier today.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's like his favorite movie.
Yeah, it's his favorite movie. Now,
he watches all the
how
time.
is that your favorite movie? Like, there's like 3 other like Boston crime movies that are better than The Town. Like, it's a totally good movie.
Name them.
The Departed.
I'd take The Town, but I like that.
Really?
Movie. I like both.
Okay.
I like both movies.
Again, totally okay. Fine. Let's go down this route. The Town, totally okay. Good, very good movie. It can't be your favorite movie.
Well, he knows
weird.
He knows what city his.
Yeah, so be like Good Will Hunting. That way you don't look like an idiot.
But that's a feel good movie. This actually speaks to the point is that the John Hamm line. This is the not fucking around crew.
Yeah,
I believe the Knicks now have the not fucking around rotation.
Yes,
again, and that's the team that you're going to see on Thursday night. This is the point in the show, Danny, where I hand it over to my guest and say, do you have questions or thoughts about the Knicks and maybe their potential ceiling with this new version of the team?
I don't, because I think they're going to be a really fucking good team. Mm-hmm. Like, OG Anunoby was a guy that the Blazers tried to get for 2 years.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
I was like, and then the fact that he got traded for that pisses me off.
A lot of people have said that. That was the reaction I saw a lot. And
I was like, when that deal went through, I went, oh, Masai, you son of a bitch. Like,
I was talking to Esparahini up in Toronto, and he was like, yeah, they probably could have got more. And
I know they could have.
They just waited until now.
And waited. This is where
the 2024 draft actually might have worked in the Knicks' favor, that they were prioritizing players. And look, we could joke about RJ. He's been outstanding in Toronto since.
Been entirely solid there. Going home and that's, which is fine. But
the Knicks have
night and day. And look, quickly, they were just here. The Raptors were just here. Quick got anyway back and forth with Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons and ultimately got embarrassed. He cleared out against DeAndre Ayton, like gave like a 5-second, like clear out. I'm going to take DeAndre Ayton. Hezzy, tween, drives right at DA. DA literally grabbed the ball as it left his hand and pushed him down to the ground. And it was like, that felt good. I bet that felt good. Just because there was a lot of chirping, a lot of back and forth.
Yeah,
Trent Jr. Which is good because that means there's a good game happening. And I haven't had many of those this year. So I appreciate when a good game is happening. Yes. And I was like, hey, we get a little shit talk. Let's have some fun, And
right. They won in overtime. I'm staring at this now. Okay.
They blew their doors off in overtime. It was like, oh, hello. But yeah, no, I like this. I mean, obviously Josh Hart, I'm very familiar with Josh from his time here. It was a foregone conclusion that he's getting traded to the Knicks. We all kind of were like, he's going to New York. OG is a guy who I love. Hartenstein is a guy that I know behind the scenes the Blazers wanted for a couple years too. There's a lot of guys on that team. I was like, yeah, they look really good alongside Damian Lillard for very specific and obvious reasons. Brunson, I love. Like, I absolutely love him. I was talking to Chauncey Billups about Brunson. We were talking about footwork and how footwork among guards is dead. We were talking about how Andre Miller is one of my favorite players of all time. And we were talking about his footwork pregame one guy or postgame one night inside his office. And I was like, Brunson's the only other guy in the league and the only guard who has footwork anymore. Like, there's just no, you got wings like Luka. Luka's great footwork, but Brunson's footwork, I can sit there and watch him all day.
Yeah.
All day, endlessly. So you've got all these guys. And then, I don't know, is Mitch coming back? Like, I know
he's been cleared for on-court work. I really think it's a luxury if Mitchell Robinson comes back.
But I mean, like, if you get fully healthy the final 2 weeks of the season, White Dante out there cooking dudes, figuring out that, yeah, he can jack up 23s and be totally fine in a night. All the Villanova guys just hooping. OG blowing up opposing offenses on a regular basis. Hartenstein can switch across. I mean, Precious can get out there and get you in transition, get you some rebounds. I know Tibbs is want to keep him glued to a bench for any given period of time because
oh no, Precious Achiuwa was an innings eater, like quite literally.
Well, yeah, with all the injuries you guys stacked.
The injuries, yes. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is where the second trade comes into play. The Bogdanovich Burks experiment has not been
great.
The best.
Yeah,
great is actually also not what it has been. It's been awful. It's what it's been. Bogey's helped them win 2 games.
Yeah,
which you're thankful for because again, 8-10 is better than 6-12.
Burks had 1, didn't he?
No, Alec Burks has been awful the entire time.
Has he been awful the entire time? Maybe it was Bogey.
I don't remember a minute of Alec Burks that I've been. Honestly, the first minute he played, it was like, oh, Alec Burks is back.
Does Tibbs still trust him like he used to?
Not the I'll play him over quickly. In fact, I believe he played 7 minutes against.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, we noticed it a couple games ago that he
there's
went
been
out
a
of his way. Well, he went out of his way after they lost to the Warriors, and he only played 11 minutes. And he was like, in the post game, I should have played him more.
That.
Like
growth from Tibbs.
So he was like, I should have played him more. Like looking at his plus minus, and you could tell like, oh, this is nonsense because his plus minus has been awful.
Yeah,
and then the next
because if anybody was looking at that, it was like, well, he's not playing.
He plays 11 again, then he plays 10, then he's played less and less. And it was honestly a question going into this game on Tuesday. Did Alec Burks just like leave the rotation? And honestly, the biggest thing is Deuce McBride. And this has been true since the Anunoby trade, that he's just like taking this new rotation spot and run with it. To the point where I'll be honest, Danny, I'm not going to be surprised if now I don't think you can get away with keeping Precious and Deuce in although the Deuce 3-point numbers are fine. So I do think if Mitch is back, that means Precious is to the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 8-man rotation in the playoffs and like Josh Hart and
he's going to play 45 minutes.
Well, Josh Hart, Mitch, and Deuce are your bench. Like those 3 guys are your bench, and then everybody else is
Josh is on the floor first to play the 2, then to play the 3, then to play the 4. As he progresses through the lineup.
He's your backup 2, your backup 3, your backup 4. Exactly. So, like to that point, I wouldn't be shocked if both Detroit guys that they got are the way that they're playing are just not in
break
the
glass in case of emergency. Yeah.
Honestly, you mentioned Evan Fournier earlier. That's the way Bogey.
He's going to glue him that bad.
That's the way he's played. He may just be a salary filler. Now, I have hope that this is going to turn around now that OG's back. I want to see what they do with him if he can regain some confidence. But yeah, it's been that bad so far.
The flip side is you didn't give up anything for those guys.
It depends how you feel about Quentin Grimes. Again, it depends. There's some people very optimistic on Quentin. I was someone optimistic on Quentin Grimes. I also know
entirely fine.
I also know some things that soured with him in the front office. So
again, not a bad player, but you're not like, oh my God, we don't have Quentin Grimes. Like, let's put it this way.
I'm not, oh my God, we don't have Quentin
exactly.
There are Knicks fans that.
Yeah, sure. Like if I put it this way, if you didn't make that trade, would Quentin Grimes be in the playoff rotation?
Yes.
You think so? Over McBride?
I think you could go 9 men.
Look,
like I think that's I think the calculation that you're making is that
that's fair.
Grimes, honestly, like if you're getting
the 1 was better than the 2.
It's like you're getting 70% of Anunoby, that's Quentin Grimes. Maybe 65, whatever percentage, and like that's a great backup to it. And the lineups we saw with Grimes during that January run were like, oh, like you're just surrounding Brunson with 3-and-D guys that are elite at both. So, I think
this is just hell for me because that's what the Blazers were wanting.
It's why it's fascinating. You're talking about like guys, and this has been like the best compliment on the pregame show this year is all of these guys, DiVincenzo, Hart, Anunoby,
all of them,
Hartenstein. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I wish I would have loved if they were on my team. And the Knicks,
Hart was a trailblazer.
Well, yeah, he actually was on your team.
Every single, and I know for a fact the Blazers chased every single one of those guys.
Yeah.
Every single one of them over the past 2 years, with the exception, obviously, of this year. With Dame, they chased those guys.
So what's the Knicks playoff ceiling in your mind?
Eastern Conference Finals, if they're all healthy. I think
that's I think where everybody is at this point.
I need to see. I believe Brunson is a NBA Finals player. I don't know if Randall is, because he's had some disappearing acts.
It's $1 million question right there.
Yeah, like, and if we're getting him healthy, like OG Anunoby, I think he's a Finals player. Yeah. So Julius to me is the swing. Like if he's healthy and like let's say his shoulder never gets hurt, I'm like the $1 million question is Julius a Finals player? Because I've never been the biggest Julius fan. Like entirely good, very good player, but great. I squint. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you can be, but are you? And that's kind of like I think there's a difference between great players and guys that can be great. Great players are Finals players. Yeah. Guys that can be great are like these are your conference finals guys, which this Trailblazers team in 2019, they were a Western Conference Finals team and they got dusted, absolutely dusted by the Warriors. They got swept. What's hilarious is the Blazers had a 13 or 14 point lead in all 4 games at halftime and lost all 4.
Well, game 2 and game 4 are the ones I remember because they're up 20 plus in both of those.
Myers Leonard had 25 points in the first half.
Yeah. And then the Warriors happened.
Yep. Yeah. And then they got Warriors. So, but again, to my point, like Blazers have plenty of like good players. CJ McCollum can be very good. He also was one of the worst can be great players in the Denver series in 2021 when Dame went for 55 and had zero help. Mm-hmm. So it's like, which one is Julius? But I believe in Brunson. I believe in OG. I think Josh Hart is a Finals caliber role player, if that exists. Like that dude's I covering him. I know what he is. He's a monster. I think I told you off air last time we talked. What Josh Hart tried to play through as a Trailblazer was unbelievable. I mean, his ankle's black, the size of a grapefruit. And he's like, I can play. And they're like, no, you can't. And this is a regular season game from like a 500-ish team. So I know that dude's an absolute gamer. So I think that, to me, that's the biggest question is like, number one, does Julius come back? Number 2, what kind of player is he? Is he a guy who's great or a guy who can be great?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's every Knicks fan asking it too. So,
right?
We'll see if we get the answer.
I don't have like some in-depth, like seeing something that nobody else is seeing. Like I'm looking at this team and going, it's a really good team.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I could see this if this Knicks team was healthy, if they got matched up with Boston in the finals, I can see them knocking off Boston easier than I can see them knocking off Milwaukee.
Really? Oh, okay.
I just watched Boston here last night. As much of they're a machine. Like the way they play.
I agree. Yeah.
The way that they play is almost robotic. And I don't like that. There's something about them that doesn't feel, this sounds so weird, doesn't feel real. And you've seen that show up when they've played great teams like Denver, where they get so many threes. I sit there and I watch and I go, just take the layup once. Take the layup. It's there. But it's like, no, we must drive and kick. We must drive and kick. That is what our master commands. And it's like, bro, you're 6'9". You've got a 6'1" guard. Finish over the top and stop fading. When I look at the Knicks, I look at them and I go, they're going to make the right play. If the right play is to shoot, they're going to shoot. The right play is to put the damn ball on the floor and get to the rim and put their head down and go to the line. That's what they're going to do. I look at that team and they're more of a team that's going to do what they need to do than what they're supposed to do. Does that make sense?
No, it does. The fact that the Celtics are very intent on playing one way, whereas the Knicks, and look, I think the Knicks' defensive ceiling is absolutely one that can knock off Boston. It kind of Randall plays into this. It's what their offensive ceiling is. Can you keep pace with Boston offensively?
And the thing is, if they're hitting threes, the answer is no. If they are hitting, that's not a shot at the Knicks.
No, that's
Denver's really the only team who, like, in a 7-game series who can answer, like keep pace with them offensively.
And the game the other night or last week when they played against Denver, we're sitting here like, oh yeah, that's a statement win for Denver. Like they were at Tatum 3 with a minute left from being down with a minute.
Neither team hit 3. The Nuggets hit 4, and I think the Celtics hit.
I think it's the inverse.
4?
I think the Nuggets hit 6, and then the
Celtics hit 4.
Yeah,
but nobody hit 3s.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like, well, what is this? Where I think that Knicks team, if you're talking about in the Eastern Conference Finals, if you get them on a night where they do that, the Knicks win. If you get them on a night where they hit 12 or 13, it's like, this is a coin toss. But if you get the rain hellfire from above Celtics team, good luck.
We've seen that team a few times this year.
Brother, it is a sight to behold.
And that, I think, is the biggest question I have outside of the Randall stuff with the Knicks is like, so that honestly was becoming the most fun part about the January version before Randall and Anunoby went down is like, I want to see this team get tested because they're ascending to like the Knicks played Denver in January. They won by 30 plus points. That was the last game of a road trip, but like Jokic had 30 plus and like did his normal stuff.
If you could shut off the water for Murray, that's how you beat that team because you're not stopping Jokic.
Well, so I'm not gonna fully bore you with like how that game went, but like that was the clearest sign of like, oh, this is what OG Anunoby does. That was his best game as a Knick.
No, he blows up pick and rolls.
Oh, he also had 26 that night too. That was the moment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, he's
the
functional.
Rare night that when he's Kawhi Leonard. It's like, oh, okay, what is this? And I think that's where I wish we like. I'm not gonna try to relitigate what this season's been. It's been a roller coaster for Knicks fans, but I don't know, man. I like to see this team get tested. I no disrespect. I do not think it will be on Thursday against the Trailblazers.
But I'm telling you right now, do not be surprised if that Portland team comes out and you're like, would you just go away?
Maybe. I'd be okay with that at this point.
Yeah, but that's what this Portland team is right now. It's like you may pull away in the end because you have more talent, but don't be surprised if you're like, why is this game at 5 points? And halfway through the third, late third, early fourth, you're like, would you guys just stop? That's kind of what they're like. Remember the Thunder 2 years ago when you're like, they only won like 22 or 24 games, but they were in every game. That's what this team is. And you're just like, you have to be a professional basketball team to take care of business. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a game for 46 minutes that you didn't want to be in.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they are.
We'll see how many of these minutes are this Blazers team is in it on Thursday night, and
that'll be fun.
I hope so. I'm staying up late and doing the post game, so I hope it's
no. At least be thankful that the Blazers suck enough that the games do not start at 7:30. They had like one of their only 7:30 games against the Celtics, and it was just like, why are we doing this? What?
That it's not a 10:30 start for me.
Yeah, 10:30 start for you, 7:30 here. That's what I'm saying. Like, what? Nobody wants this. Like, everybody. We're at the Celtics game last night, and every one of the media PR were like, why? No, like everybody's like walking out at 7:00 like we normally do, and looking around like, what? Oh Jesus, we still have another 45 minutes before this starts, and it was just like, come on, but we just keep it moving, folks. There's a month left. Let's go.
Well, Mr. Marang, I appreciate you staying up this late.
I appreciate you.
I was going to say it's not that late. It's late for you. It's not nowhere near as late
for me. I'm good.
Yeah, totally.
My wife's probably in the other room like, well, he shut up.
Yeah, my wife's long been asleep for now. So hopefully I didn't wake her up this late. Before we get out of here, let the fine folks at home know where they can find you and all your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Jack Ramsays across social media at Danny Marang, Jack Ramsays, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And if you want to listen to Portland Terrestrial Radio, you can find me on 1080 AM The Fan, noon to 3 Pacific Standard Time every single day.
Outstanding. Danny, as always, it is good to see you, my friend, and catch up on all the things going on in Portland. And thank you to everybody that tuned in for this edition of the KFS pregame show. If you dig the show, head over to iTunes, drop a 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video. Remember to subscribe. I will be back on Saturday morning with another episode previewing the matchup against the Kings. But until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the game tonight, and I'll speak with you soon. Peace.